I'm Rawakib, and you are watching HFY Horizon channel. They laughed when the human walked into the Intergalactic Academy. Amelia Chen, 23 years old, the only member of her species among 300 aliens who had conquered faster than light travel while Earth was still banging rocks together. Every day they reminded her that humans didn't belong, that Earth was a barbaric death world, that she was primitive. Then came the examination. Professor Kynn announced a survival test on Ragnarok 7, a Class 12 death world where 60% of teams fail, volcanic hellscapes, toxic atmospheres, three blazing suns, gravitational forces that could crush starships. Amelia's team, carefully selected, every alien who despised humans. Zelthor, the Croaxian warrior, smiled with his mandibles clicking. Front row seats to watch a Deathworlder fail on a death world. But when a Class Omega apex predator erupted from the ground, when her teammates scattered in terror, when the alien warrior who mocked her calculated 0% survival, Amelia didn't run. She ran toward the monster, because while the galaxy had evolved beyond fear, protected by technology and comfort, humans remembered something these advanced species had forgotten. Earth had tried to kill humanity every single day for millions of years, and humanity had refused to die. What happened next became legend. The primitive human, the barbarian from Earth. She taught 47 civilizations what it really means to come from a death world. The Intergalactic Academy for Advanced Species floated in the void between three solar systems, a massive structure of crystalline towers and gravitational rings that housed the brightest minds from 47 civilizations. Amelia Chen stood at the observation deck of Sector 7, watching distant nebulae paint the darkness with colors that Earth's atmosphere would never allow her to see. Her reflection stared back from the reinforced glass, a 23-year-old woman with tired eyes and calloused hands that didn't belong in this pristine temple of knowledge. She was the only human in a school of gods. Primitive mammal, a voice hissed behind her. Amelia didn't turn. She knew that particular brand of venom belonged to Zelthor, a Croaxian whose species had mastered faster than light travel, while humans were still banging rocks together. His segmented exoskeleton clicked as he approached, each step a calculated reminder of his superiority. Still staring at pretty lights. How wonderfully simple your kind must be. Amelia took a slow breath, counting to 5 in Mandarin, then English, then the clicking language of the Valorians she'd learned in her first semester. Good morning to you too. Zelthor, did you finish the quantum mechanics assignment? Or are you here to compensate for something? The Croxian's mandibles twitched. Around them, other students pretended not to listen. A Salthine blob creature rippled with what might have been amusement. Two Fenrir pack minds shared a glance between their four wolf-like heads. Today's practical examination will be entertaining, Zelthor said, his tone dripping with anticipation. Professor Kynn has designed something special, something that will finally prove what we all know. Humans don't belong here. He left before Amelia could respond, his clicking footsteps fading down the corridor. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass, feeling the familiar weight of isolation settle on her shoulders. 6 months at the academy, and every day brought a fresh reminder that humanity was the new kid on the galactic block, barely qualified to sit at the big table. Her communicator buzzed. A message from her roommate, Scylla, a Drexian, whose species looked like walking orchids with too many eyes. Practical exam in 20 minutes. Survival simulation. Bring your courage and maybe a prayer to whatever gods your people still believe in. Amelia smiled despite herself. Scylla was one of the few who treated her like an equal, not a curiosity or a threat. The examination hall was an amphitheater that could have swallowed a city block, with holographic displays floating above a central platform. 300 students from dozens of species filled the seats, their various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, telepathic hums, and actual speech. Professor Kynn stood at the center, his Yelthari form resembling a 6-armed mantis, wearing robes that defied gravity. Welcome, aspirants. His voice resonated through translation implants embedded in every student's neural cortex. Today's examination will test not your knowledge, but your survival instinct, your ability to adapt, your capacity to endure. The holographic displays shifted, showing a planet covered in volcanic ranges, toxic atmospheres, and gravitational anomalies that would crush most species instantly. Amelia's stomach tightened. She recognized the environmental readings. They were similar to Earth's early formation period, the kind of hellscape that forged humanity's ancestors. You will be placed in randomized teams of 5, Professor Kynn continued. Each team will enter a simulation of Ragnarok 7, a Class 12 death world. Your objective is simple: survive for 3 hours, extract the resource beacon, return to the designated safe zone. 60% of teams typically fail this examination. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Class 12 death worlds were the galactic standard for uninhabitable nightmares, places where life existed only in its most aggressive and brutal forms. Team assignments are now displayed, Professor Kynn announced. Amelia's heart sank as she read her team roster. Zelthor, a Grobian named Kess, whose species was basically sentient rocks with bad attitudes. 2 Felzai twins who communicated only through bioluminescent flashes and considered all non-aquatic life inferior. This wasn't random. This was sabotage. Zelthor appeared beside her, his mandibles clicking in what passed for a smile among his kind. How fortunate. We'll have front row seats to watch a Deathworlder fail on a death world. The irony is delicious. The irony, Amelia said quietly, is that you don't know what irony means. Before he could respond, the world dissolved into light. The simulation was perfect. Amelia materialized on scorched ground, radiating heat through her boots. The atmosphere texture of sulfur and ash, burning her throat with each breath despite the environmental suit's filters. Above, 3 suns blazed in a purple sky, their radiation enough to cook unshielded flesh in seconds. Around her, the rest of her team appeared, each protected by their species-specific gear. Zelthor immediately took charge, his voice crackling through the communication channel. Kess, establish a perimeter. Felzai twins, scan for the beacon. Human, try not to die immediately. It would reflect poorly on the team's final score. Amelia ignored him, her eyes scanning the terrain with practiced efficiency. The volcanic plains stretched endlessly, broken by jagged obsidian formations and rivers of molten rock. In the distance, something massive moved between the heat shimmer, too large and too fast to be geological. Beacon located, one of the Felzai twins flashed. Their bioluminescence translated through Amelia's visor. 3 kilometers northeast. Terrain assessment indicates 4 major obstacles between the current position and the objective. Then we move, Zelthor commanded. Maintain formation. The human brings up the rear. They moved across the hellscape, and Amelia fell into the rhythm her body remembered from years of training that had nothing to do with the academy. Her father had been a Marine. Her mother is a wilderness survival instructor. They'd raised her on stories of human endurance, of ancestors who'd walked out of Africa and conquered every environment Earth could throw at them. This might be an alien death world, but the principle was the same. Stay alert, conserve energy, never stop moving. The first obstacle appeared 20 minutes into their trek. A chasm split the ground, 200 meters across, and found with volcanic gases that sensors marked as instantly lethal. Zelthor studied the gap, his tactical implant calculating trajectories. The Grobian will construct a bridge using available materials, he decided. Estimated time? 18 minutes. Amelia stepped forward, her eyes tracing the chasm's edge. Or we could use that. She pointed to a natural stone arch, 50 meters to their left, partially obscured by heat distortion. Zelthor's mandibles clicked in irritation. That structure is unstable. Probability of collapse exceeds 40%. Probability of completing this exam, while Kess spends 18 minutes playing with rocks. Amelia countered. 100% failure. We're on a clock. The Croxian's exoskeleton bristled, but one of the Felzai twins flashed agreement. The human's assessment is tactically sound. Time efficiency outweighs structural risk. They crossed the arch in tense silence, the stone groaning beneath their combined weight, but holding. Amelia went last, feeling the structure shift with each step, hearing microfractures spread through the rock. The moment her boots touched solid ground on the far side, the arch collapsed into the chasm with a sound like thunder. Zelthor said nothing, but his silence spoke volumes. The second obstacle was biological. They emerged from a canyon to find their path blocked by a breeding ground of slag serpents, creatures that were essentially living magma encased in crystalline scales. Dozens of them coiled around thermal vents, their bodies glowing orange and red in the volcanic twilight. Combat scenario, Zolthor assessed. Tess will engage while we provide range support. Amelia watched the serpents, noting their behavior patterns. They're not aggressive. Look at their positioning. They're protecting eggs in those thermal vents. If we fight them, we'll trigger a defensive swarm response. Every serpent in a kilometer will converge on us. Your point, human? We go around that ridgeline. She indicated a path that would add 15 minutes to their journey, but avoid the breeding ground entirely. Unacceptable delay. Selthor snapped. We fight, we die, Amelia corrected. But sure, let's test your theory about Caroxian superiority. Against 50 tons of angry crystallized lava, the Falzai twins flash rapidly between themselves, then towards Zalthor. Strategic withdrawal is advisable. The human's threat assessment aligns with our tactical matrix. Zalthor's frustration was palpable, but he yielded. They took the ridgeline. By the time they reached the beacon's location, 90 minutes had elapsed. The device sat in the center of a crater, pulsing with blue light, seemingly unguarded. Amelia felt every instinct she possessed screaming warnings. Something's wrong, she said. Obviously, Zalthor retorted. We're behind schedule because of your cautious approach. Kess retrieved the beacon. The Grobian lumbered forward, his rock-like body impervious to most environmental hazards. He danged 3 steps into the crater when the ground erupted. The creature that emerged defied easy description. It was massive, a fusion of insectoid and reptilian features, covered in armor plates that wept molten metal. Its roar shattered the air, and its eyes, dozens of them, fixed on the team with predatory intelligence. Apex Predator, one of the Felzai screamed. Class Omega threat. Retreat. The creature moved with horrifying speed, one massive claw sweeping toward Kess. The Grobian's rocky exterior exploded into fragments, his body sent tumbling across the crater like a discarded toy. The team scattered, each member diving for cover behind obsidian formation. Amelia's mind raced. The creature was too fast, too strong. Their weapons wouldn't penetrate its armor. Standard tactics were suicide. But she'd grown up listening to stories about humans who'd faced impossible odds, who'd survived by being smarter, not stronger. She keyed her communicator. Zalthor, can your species tolerate high-frequency sonic pulses? What? Yes. But everyone else? The Felzai twins flashed negative. Auditory damage would be severe. Then cover your sensors. I've got an idea, and you're really not going to like it. Amelia didn't wait for permission. She sprinted from cover, her boots pounding across superheated stone, directly toward the creature. Its multiple eyes tracked her movement, and it lunged with those terrible claws extended. She slid beneath its attack, her body remembering every baseball slide from her childhood, and grabbed the beacon. Her fingers found the device's emergency function, the one designed to summon extraction in case of critical failure, and she activated it on the wrong frequency. The beacon shrieked, a sound that transcended human hearing, a pulse of energy that resonated through the crater like a weapon. The creature recoiled, its armor plates vibrating, cracks spreading across its carapace. Amelia rolled away as the thing thrashed in agony, its roar becoming a wail of confusion and pain. Now, she screamed into the communicator. Extract while it's disoriented. Her team moved, grabbing the beacon, hauling the injured Kess between them. They ran, and the simulation registered their success 3 seconds before the creature recovered enough to pursue. Light consumed them, and they materialized back in the examination hall. Silence gripped the amphitheater. 300 students and 1 professor stared at Team 7 as they appeared on the platform, scorched, exhausted, and victorious. Amelia's environmental suit was melted in places, her face streaked with ash, her hands trembling from adrenaline. Professor Kynn's 6 arms crossed in a gesture of evaluation. Explain your tactics, Cadet Chen. Amelia straightened, meeting his alien gaze. Humans evolved on a death world, Professor. We learned a long time ago that you don't beat apex predators through strength. You beat them by cheating better than they do. A ripple of sound moved through the crowd. It might have been laughter. It might have been respect. Zelthor stepped forward, his exoskeleton scarred with burns. For a long moment, he simply looked at Amelia, his alien features unreadable. Then his mandibles clicked once, a sound she'd learned meant acknowledgement among his people. Perhaps, he said slowly, we have underestimated what it means to be from a death world. Professor Kynn's appendages unfolded, and the holographic displays lit up with their team's performance metrics. Survival time, 3 hours and 14 minutes. Objectives completed with minimal casualties. Tactical innovation is off the charts. Team 7, the professor announced, has achieved the highest examination score in Academy history. The applause started with Scylla, her orchid-like form swaying with enthusiasm. Spread through the amphitheater, a cacophony of sounds from species who had watched a human do the impossible. Amelia felt tears threaten and forced them down. Not here, not now. But as she left the platform, Zelthor fell into step beside her. Your people, he said quietly, are terrifying. Amelia smiled, thinking of home, of the beautiful blue planet that had forged humanity in fire and ice and every catastrophe evolution could devise. You have no idea. The corridor stretched ahead, filled with students who parted to let her pass. And for the first time since arriving at the academy, Amelia Chen walked with her head high, carrying the weight of her world's legacy on her shoulders. They'd tested the human in class. The galaxy was just beginning to learn what that meant. The observation deck had become Amelia's sanctuary over the following weeks. She stood there now, 3 days after the Agdanemin, watching stellar formations paint darkness with light, while her mind replayed everything that had changed. The communicator in her pocket buzzed constantly with messages from students she'd never spoken to before, species she'd only read about in xenobiology texts. Everyone wanted to talk to the human who'd beaten a class Omega predator with nothing but quick thinking and a manipulated beacon. Fame, she discovered, was exhausting. You look troubled, a voice said behind her. Amelia turned to find Professor Kynn, his mantis-like form somehow less alien than it had been weeks ago. His 6 arms held data tablets that glowed with holographic information. May I join you? It's a big window, Amelia replied, then caught herself. Sorry, Professor. Yes, course. Kynn's mandibles clicked in what she'd learned was amusement. Your species' tendency towards sarcasm continues to fascinate our linguistic department. They've written 3 papers analyzing Earth humor since your examination. Despite everything, Amelia smiled. We use jokes to process stress. It's cheaper than therapy. Indeed, Professor Kynn moved beside her, and for a moment, they simply watched the cosmos together. I owe you an apology, Cadet Chen. That pulled Amelia's attention away from the stars. Sir, the team assignments for your examination were not random, he said quietly. I deliberately placed you with Selthor and others known for their hostility toward your species. I wanted to see how you would perform under maximum psychological pressure combined with physical danger. Amelia's jaw tightened. You set me up to fail. No. Kynn's compound eyes met hers. Alien but somehow sincere. I set you up to prove what I suspected. That humans possess something most galactic species have lost over millennia of technological comfort. The ability to adapt under pressure, to innovate when survival demands it, to endure what would break others. He gestured to the data tablets, and they projected holographic charts into the space between them. 47 civilizations attend this academy. Most have existed for thousands of years longer than humanity. They've mastered technologies your people can barely comprehend. Yet, in 5 years of administering that examination, no team has ever achieved what yours did. Do you know why? Amelia shook her head. Because they've forgotten how to be afraid, Professor Kynn said. True fear. The kind that strips away arrogance and forces you to see situations clearly. Your teammates panicked when that creature appeared. You calculated, they saw an insurmountable threat. You saw a problem requiring a solution. With respect, Professor, that's not special. That's just survival instinct. Exactly. Kynn's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of excitement in his species. Survival instinct that most galactic species have evolved beyond. We've become so advanced, so protected by our technologies and our collective knowledge, that we've lost the edge that comes from genuinely dangerous existence. But humans? You come from a world that tried to kill you every day for millions of years. You carry that legacy in your bones. The weight of his words settled over Amelia like a physical thing. She thought about Earth, about the countless ways her homeworld was hostile to life. The temperature extremes, the predators, the diseases, the natural disasters that could erase civilizations in hours. Humanity had survived it all, not through superior strength or intelligence, but through sheer stubborn refusal to quit. Is that why you accepted human applications to the Academy? She asked. Because we're good at being scared. Because you're good at surviving, despite being scared, Kynn corrected. There's a difference. Most species flee danger. Humans run toward it if necessary. That quality will be valuable in the conflicts ahead. Amelia's instincts sharpened. Conflicts? Professor Kynn's holographic displays shifted, showing star maps with regions marked in pulsing red. The galaxy is not as peaceful as the Academy suggests. There are threats emerging, forces that make Class Omega predators look manageable. The Collective Council has been monitoring these developments for decades. They're the reason humanity was invited to join galactic society earlier than your technological development would normally warrant. You need soldiers, Amelia said flatly. You need people who know how to fight. We need survivors, Kynn replied. We need people who remember how to struggle, how to adapt, how to find solutions when every option seems impossible. Your examination proved that one human facing overwhelming odds can achieve what entire teams of advanced species cannot. Imagine what humanity could contribute if properly integrated into galactic defense initiatives. The implications made Amelia's head spin. Earth's population barely knew aliens existed. The governments had kept first contact quiet, releasing information gradually to prevent panic. And now this professor was suggesting humans might become the galaxy's emergency responders. I'm 23 years old, she said quietly. I failed my entrance exams twice before the Academy accepted me. I'm not some superhero. No, Professor Kynn agreed. You're something more valuable. You're ordinary. And if an ordinary human can do what you did, imagine what your species might accomplish collectively. Footsteps echoed down the corridor, multiple sets approaching rapidly. Amelia tensed, old reflexes kicking in, but Professor Kynn's mandibles clicked reassurance. Your visitors, he said. I took the liberty of inviting them. The group that emerged from the corridor was her entire examination team. Zelthor led them, his Caroxian exoskeleton newly polished, followed by the Felzai twins, their bioluminescence dimmer than usual, and finally Kess, the Grobian, whose rocky exterior still showed cracks from the creature's attack. Behind them came Sella, Amelia's roommate, her orchid-like form swaying with nervous energy. Cadet Chen, Zelthor said formally, then paused. Amelia, may we speak with you? This was unprecedented. Species at the Academy maintained professional distance. First names were intimate, reserved for packmates or breeding partners. Amelia glanced at Professor Kynn, who simply gestured for her to proceed before quietly departing. Of course, Amelia said carefully. What's going on? Zelthor's mandibles clicked in what she'd learned was his version of embarrassment. I come to apologize. My behavior toward you since your arrival has been unworthy of the Academy's principles. I allowed prejudice and arrogance to blind me to the reality of your capabilities. One of the Felzai twins flashed, their communication translated through Amelia's neural implant. We share this shame. Our species has long believed itself superior due to our aquatic adaptations and bioelectric communication. You demonstrated that such advantages mean nothing when cleverness and courage combine. Kess rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. You saved my life. Among Grobians, this creates a debt that can never be fully repaid. But I offer you my service and protection for as long as you require it. Amelia felt her throat tighten. Guys, I just did what anyone would do. No, Scylla said, gliding forward with her multiple eyes focused intently on Amelia. That's precisely the point. You did what no one else could do. What no one else even thought to try. And you did it to save teammates who had treated you terribly. Zelthor stepped closer, and Amelia saw something in his alien features she'd never expected to see. Respect. Among Caroxians, when a warrior demonstrates exceptional courage and skill, we offer them entry into our war clan. It is the highest honor our species can bestow. I would like to offer you that honor, Amelia Chen, to claim you as clan sister. The corridor fell silent, even Amelia's limited understanding of galactic customs. She knew this was massive. Croxians were one of the most militaristic species in known space, their warrior culture legendary. For one to offer clan membership to an alien was almost unheard of. I don't know what to say, Amelia managed. Say yes, Zelthor replied simply. Let us learn from you as you learn from us. Let us show the galaxy what happens when a Deathworlder joins forces with species who have forgotten how to truly struggle. Tears threatened again, and this time Amelia didn't fight them. Yes, she whispered. I'd be honored. The Felzai twins flashed brilliant colors, their excitement evident. Gaz rumbled approval. Scylla's entire form brightened with joy. And Zelthor performed something Amelia had only seen in xenobiology texts. The Croaxian gesture of absolute trust, extending his most vulnerable joint toward her. Amelia reached out, her human hand touching his alien biology, and felt the weight of countless barriers breaking. There's something else, Zelthor said, his tone shifting. Something we need your help with. What kind of help? The kind that might change everything, Scylla answered. You know how the Academy has different research divisions? Theoretical physics, xenobiology, diplomatic studies. Sure, Amelia said cautiously. There's another division, one they don't advertise. Advanced combat scenarios and threat assessment. They study potential galactic dangers and develop response protocols. Scylla's multiple eyes fixed on Amelia with uncomfortable intensity. They've been watching your examination results. They want to recruit you. Amelia's stomach knotted. Recruit me for what? Cass spoke up, his stone voice grave. There's a situation developing in the Outer Rim territories. A species called the Devourers has begun expanding aggressively. They're unlike anything the galaxy has encountered before. Highly adaptive, ruthlessly efficient. They don't negotiate or coexist. They simply consume everything in their path. The Collective Council has sent 12 expeditionary forces against them. One of the Felzai twins flashed. All 12 were destroyed completely. No survivors. No useful intelligence recovered. That's impossible, Amelia breathed. 12 entire military operations. The Devourers learn from every encounter, Selthor explained. They adapt faster than we can develop new tactics. Traditional military doctrine is useless against them. Every strategy becomes obsolete after a single engagement. Scylla moved closer to Amelia, her voice dropping. The Advanced Combat Division wants to try something radical. They want to send a team composed of species from Deathworlds, beings who evolved to survive adaptive predators and constantly changing threats. They think, maybe, just maybe, people who learn to evolve themselves might match the Devourer's adaptation rate. And they want me because I'm human, Amelia said slowly. Because I come from Earth. They want you because you proved that being human means something, Zelthor corrected. You outsmarted a class Omega Predator using nothing but improvisation and understanding of basic physics. That's exactly the kind of thinking they need. Amelia walked back to the observation deck's window, staring out at the galaxy. Somewhere out there, apparently, existed something that terrified the most advanced civilizations in known space. Something that adapted, consumed, destroyed. Something that required the one thing most species had lost, the ability to fight dirty. When do they want an answer, she asked. You're already saying yes, Scylla observed. I can tell from your posture. Humans are terrible at hiding their intentions. Amelia laughed despite the situation's gravity. How long have I got before deployment? 3 weeks, Zelthor said. They'll be assembling the team, gathering intelligence, preparing equipment. But Amelia, you need to understand what you're agreeing to. This isn't a simulation. This isn't an examination. People are dying out there. You might die out there. She thought about Earth, about the blue planet, hanging in space where humanity had clawed its way from caves to starships. She thought about all the humans who'd faced impossible odds throughout history, who'd fought against nature, disease, tyranny, and their own limitations, who'd survived by being tougher than anything trying to kill them. My species has a saying, Amelia said quietly. Scared is what you feel, brave is what you do. I'm absolutely terrified, but I'm also completely certain this is what I need to do. Professor Kynn appeared in the corridor's shadows, his presence somehow unsurprising. Spoken like a true warrior, Cadet Chen, or should I say, Specialist Chen. Your promotion is effective immediately. The weight of that hit her. Specialist, combat designation. This was really happening. There's one condition, Amelia said, turning to face her team. If I'm going, you're all coming with me. What? Scylla's multiple eyes widened. We proved we work well together, Amelia continued. We survived because we learned to trust each other, because we combined our strengths and covered each other's weaknesses. The Advanced Combat Division wants a team from Deathworlds. Fine, but I want my team, my clan. Zelthor's mandibles clicked rapidly, his version of laughter. You realize you're recruiting a Kroxian warrior, two Felzai strategists, a Grobian shock trooper, and a Drexian intelligence specialist for a mission that will probably kill us all. Yes, Amelia said simply. So do you realize you're about to follow a human into the most dangerous situation any of us will ever face? The pause stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then Zelthor's exoskeleton straightened. For clan sister, always. The Fell's Eye stand with our savior. The twins flashed together. Grobians honor their debts. Kess rumbled. Scylla swayed forward, her form brightening. Someone needs to keep you from getting too arrogant about being a Deathworlder. Might as well be me. Professor Kynn's mandibles clicked in approval. Then it settled. Team 7 will become the first integrated Deathworld combat unit in galactic history. I'll inform the Advanced Combat Division. They'll be pleased and terrified, mostly terrified, as the group began discussing logistics, training schedules, and equipment requisitions. Amelia returned to the window one last time. Out there, somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, the Devourers waited. An enemy that had defeated every conventional force sent against it. An enemy that adapted, evolved, and consumed. But the Devourers had never fought humans before, had never encountered beings who'd spent millions of years learning how to survive on a world actively trying to kill them, had never faced the galaxy's newest, most stubborn species. They'd tested humans in class, and the galaxy had learned what Deathworlders really were. Now it was time to teach that lesson to something that thought it was invincible. Amelia Chen smiled at her reflection in the observation deck's glass, at the young woman who'd arrived at the academy 6 months ago, feeling inadequate and alone. That woman was gone. In her place stood a specialist, a warrior sister to an alien species who'd learned to look past biology and see the strength beneath. Scared is what you feel, she whispered to herself. Brave is what you do. And somewhere in the darkness, the Devourers continued their expansion, unaware that they'd just made their first freckle mistake. They'd given humanity a reason to show the galaxy what humans could really do when survival demanded it. 3 weeks, Amelia thought. 3 weeks to prepare for war. It wouldn't be enough time. It never was. But humans had built civilizations in less time, had conquered continents, had reached for the stars themselves. 3 weeks would have to be enough, because the alternative was letting something consume the galaxy without resistance. And humans didn't quit, not when things got hard, not when the odds were impossible, not when everyone said they couldn't win. That was what being from a death world meant. That was what the galaxy was about to learn. And Amelia Chen was going to be the one to teach them. Thanks for watching the story, and subscribe and like to my channel for more HFY sci-fi stories.